Hi, so today we are going to talk about the life cycle of a daffodil. Now, a daffodil is one of the flowers that everyone starts to see around about spring. A lot of people consider it the Easter flower, but it is the one that tends to bring out all the other flowers afterwards. Now, daffodils are beautiful. They're yellow, they're bright, they immediately make you think that everything is starting to warm up from winter, but not too quickly. Now, daffodils have a very interesting life cycle. So when you first get a daffodil, you have a bulb. Now this bulb is then planted, and it's planted quite early on. It's usually planted during winter. So it will then lie dormant under the ground until spring comes. And when spring comes, it will then have the leaves start to grow before the bulbs appear. Now these bulbs then begin maturing into the mature daffodil, which is the one you see in shops, when you see everywhere else. This is one where it has all the yellow petals and the stems are very long and bright and green. After this, quite a lot of people will then cut them off of the bulb and sell them as a bouquet or just to give them to someone else. But if they're left alone, then after the leaves on the daffodil all turn yellow, they can be taken off and the bulb can be replanted in the future, because it will then go back to being dormant, so it can grow all over again. Now the flowers themselves are very interesting because they can last up to 6 months flowered if it's done in the right conditions. But that's usually in very, very specific conditions. But I wonder how long you can make them last at home. When I did mine, they lasted for 2.5 weeks before I thought they were too old to stay. Now daffodils are very interesting. They're also the national flower of Wales, which means they are the flower that Wales considers to be their flower, their most important flower, the one that makes you think of Wales. Now there are at least 25 different species of daffodils alone, with over 13,000 hybrids. Now daffodils are a really interesting flower because not only are they very, very pretty, but they're also a little bit poisonous. The sap that exists in a daffodil, you'll see it if you cut the stem, you'll see the sap, just a liquid. Now that is poisonous, both to other flowers, which is why you don't really see lots of different flowers planted with daffodils, and also to other animals. So a lot of birds that like flowers, such as hummingbirds, and even dogs, can get poisoned by daffodils. It can be very dangerous. Now, they're also a very robust flower, as they can grow through a lot of different types of weather, and they can come out of the ground even if it's still snowing when springs come. Now, I'm going to show you some different videos of my daffodils from when I got them for every day for a few days, and then I'm going to show you the final day before I had to get rid of them. Now I put mine in a compost pot because that means that they can then be used to feed other plants when I spread it over the ground. Now I want you to have a look at these flowers, because when I got mine from the store, I didn't get mine from bulb, unfortunately, which means you can only see them from the mature flowering daffodil phase. You can't see them with the bulb or when they're just starting to grow and appear. But you can see how the flowers start to mature and how long it takes them to appear and show themselves. So you can see the difference in the petals. Now I'm going to show you those, and I think you should have a little look. Okay, so now that you've seen how my petals on my daffodils have opened up so that you can see the corona, which is the little bit that looks kind of like a mouth. Now inside there you'll see all the different pistils, and those are the little stems inside the corona that hold all the pollen. Now daffodils are a really old plant, and the first record we have of daffodils is with the ancient Romans, and we have those records in 200 to 300 BC. That is so long ago. Now they were also grown by the Greeks, and the Greeks even learnt how to use them as disinfectants. After that, they got moved around, and they travelled around a lot until even Britain had them. And Britain used them as disinfectant for warts. The Victorians would grow them, dry them, and then turn them into a paste which would be used on the warts, and they would help with them. Now, daffodils are also really amazing because they even produce a chemical called galantamine, and this is used in the treatment of Alzheimer's disease, which is a really scary disease, and the galantamine from the daffodils helps a lot with it. Now, the shortest daffodil you can find is only 5 centimetres long. That's 2 inches. Now, that is very little. And I wonder if you have a ruler or a tape measure at home, and if you can measure just how small this daffodil is, because it is tiny. So if you have one, I want you to pause the video just for a little bit and go and find your ruler or your tape measure, and you can have a little look at just how tiny it is. Okay, also the tallest daffodil is 80 centimetres long. That's 33 inches. That is so much bigger. I wonder, can you even measure how big that is with your ruler or your tape measure? Can you even see how tall that is? Now, 80 centimetres and 5 centimetres are so different. You could fit, let's think, how many daffodils could you fit if they were 5 centimetres into 80? You could fit a whole 16 of the littlest daffodils into the one big daffodil. That is such a huge difference. Now, I think you've had a good idea about some interesting facts about the daffodil, and we've had a little talk about how it starts as a bulb that's planted in the ground for quite a long time, and then it grows with the stem growing out and the buds of the flower growing up with the leaves, and then it becomes a mature daffodil where the flowers come out. Now, this is usually when we see them, but then you've also been told that you can replant the bulb for next year. Now, I wonder if any of you have got any daffodils at home, or if you can go on a walk and find one, and then you can have a little closer look at just what parts a daffodil has.